Okay, here's the Sitchin model of how we came to be, and the Nibiru that keeps coming around, and that's Planet X and all that good stuff. He sees it as side glancing us, and one of her moons smacking us and cracking us into two, and that forms the asteroid belt. And here's the moon Kingu. And then this says Tiamat's path down here, and orbit of Nibiru's path. So yeah and no. I mean, what I originally got out of the things. There's three of these accounts out. There's Tohu and Bahu, and then there's Tiamat and Bahamut, and I'm guessing this would be Baphomet, by the way, people, of Sophia origin and so on. Um, and I'll put a picture of Baphomet at the end, maybe, if I remember here. But the legend goes, well, let's look at the Sumerian thing. If we're going to go off the Sumerian thing and say that they had it first than everybody, this is that dinner party that they had, or at least the tablet that I'm looking at is refers to a grand meeting, and whenever the person comes in, you end up going by the planets in order, and so you go past Pluto, and then you see and On's laying on his side on the couch wearing his blue attire, his blue screen lapis lazuli attire, and you come on around and everything, and then you're in there, and then ensues the intruder, dun dun dun, and the intruder planet comes in and goes around through the ballroom area and apparently has an interaction with On, and this is not favorable. So other planets get in action to try to quell the situation, if you will, and it looks like something bad might happen. She has bodyguards with her, they're armed. Kingu is the biggest one of those group, and so Kingu ends up being the moon here. But in the story, and there's even a depiction of this. I'll put a couple of pictures after this that try to put the few of these moments together. But what happens is she comes in. One of her bodyguards, who is the North Wind, bumps into Ki, which is Earth. This causes a turmoil, which secondly happens. Um, her bodyguard, having bumped into her, bumps into Tiamat. Tiamat spills her drink on Ki, and this is an insult. And you're like, oh, spilled a drink on my attire at my big gown wedding thing, and not, well, it wasn't a wedding, but it was the big gala, and ruined her. And or it could have been, an insult was passed and she threw the glass on her. Anyhow, things go wrong, and her bodyguard Kingu steps in. Someone grabs her necklace and rips it off, and it's made of pearls, and they go everywhere. This is your belt of many stars that show up here. And Kingu steps in front and takes one for the team, and gets his head cut off in the process of letting her get away. But she gets injured in the way, and one story says she's cut in half, and half of her ends up mending back to us, and the other half disintegrates and turns into the asteroid belt, and the belt of many stars, and also becomes the Milky Way, which that wouldn't actually be in effect. You look at the way the galaxy's built, that's not necessarily true. But the Kingu, whenever it tells the story, one eerie, weird thing about it, it says Kingu's face, he falls on the ground and his face goes pale, and then he's forever looking upon Tiamat, the moon, and it says that it's always facing Tiamat's dead body in reverence. So the odd thing is, though, is at the end of the story, the tablet's knocked off. And in one of the German stories, it says that this could be alliteration because it was in parentheses. It said she got thrown out the window. And on another guy, the one that had the dark velvet background stuff for his tablet chunk, said that she got thrown out the door. And but now a weird thing is too is a piece of her got into Key. I don't know. Did they kill her and eat her? Anyhow, we ended up getting a third of ourself from her, supposedly. And so I see this coming down or coming about a little bit different than they have on this. Kingu is her moon, and that's the moon that we stole, and it's only his head, supposedly. So there's your difference. By the way, in the mythology of all this, too, Tiamat has veins of gold running through her body. That's the whole thing that drives him, and that's the reason that Sitchin said, of course, that they're driven here is for that gold, and that he doesn't really mention it in in the whole book, I don't believe, but in the real mythology of it, she has veins of gold, and Bahamut has veins of silver. Now, we get a small piece of him in the chunk. She doesn't leave him unscarred. It says in the fight that they have whenever you go with Tiamat and Bahamut version of it, whenever they get into this big fight in the heavens that strews out and her blood and everything casts out into the solar system, and it ends up being her carcass is actually ends up being Earth in the other version of it, and that it's only half of it too. But so either version of this puts it to where we have veins of gold, like the gold veins in your arms and stuff. And ironically, we call those veins, whenever we go mining for them, veins of gold. They run like veins through the planet and stuff. So it gives some credence to this whole little weird idea these people had. Well, it's an idea sitting at about 4,000 BC, but then again, they're telling you of a thing that happened in old times, and when they say it twice, like it happened in old times, in way old times. They always start with this type thing. I'll show you a cool little video right here. I love Sitchin. Let's see where his model goes though here. He has a collision model here in this one video. It's just a collection, and then it took half of Earth away, and then it strips that, and that's what ends up being way. And we already had all that water, and then we're left with a thing where now here it looks like half the planet's gone, not like it stripped it off and it became a round thing. Of course, it wouldn't be a round thing. It would knock the end off of it, and then you'd have to try to find, a way that the planet would round itself back off, and maybe that's why the continents all split and rolled around the edges and stuff. And all the continents spread apart, whenever they used to be Pangea, and then they all spread apart. Maybe that has something to do with it. But um, in my model, something happened out, past Mars. That's the path that this planet comes in, this killer. It doesn't make it all the way even into Earth's orbit necessarily. And it still may disrupt Earth if we're right on that side of it and cause a lot of problems. But the event that I see in tablets and the planet of the crossing, Nibiru, was an asteroid impact that happened if I guess if you look at the tablets, it'd have to have been like 2600 BC, somewhere around in there, maybe a little earlier. And this could have been the thing that brings about the flood, of course. And the remnants of that's just a remnant coming back through from the original happening. This that we're looking here is a primordial situation that they know of. I mean, the odd thing is that it's in their children's folklore and things for whenever they're kids. So I think it's just a unique story and stuff. And it's one of the earliest stories that we've got. And it's one of the earliest stories we've got of a cat fight.